Alright, I am back with another Destiny 2 video, this time going a bit deeper, pun unfortunately intended, about some recent thoughts I had on Season of the Deep. I wrote an article today called Season of the Deep is Not Doing It For Me. I am looking at 169 comments, not quite a ratio, but that's a lot of comments. Some people agree with me. There was a lot of responses like, so don't play the game, or you're just burned out, or you just want to play Diablo 4. Okay, the last one is true, but I am trying to separate out my feelings for Diablo 4 and how much I'm about to be playing it with the things I am just not really digging about the season, and that is most of the things so far. I want to kind of go a little bit more in depth here because I think some of these deserve to be expanded on. I have a whole list of like kind of the various parts of the season that are good or bad. I do not think most of them are great. I will kind of go in order here and expand. So the story, this is a little early, I guess, but it does very much seem like the main thrust of the story here is going to be Sloane and this psychic connection she has with the sea worm in Titan. I did not really imagine we would be headed back to Titan to psychically communicate with the sea worm. That is apparently like those avatar whales that have like deep thoughts and feelings. There is some interesting lore in here about how the sea worm, I guess, was one of the original race of the creatures that were corrupted into becoming high worm gods. That is cool. But in practice, this is sort of do the seasonal story, get a new sentence psychically translated from Sloane, and then there's other kind of background story stuff going on, like Saint trying to be almost over the top empathetic about Sloane and her feelings about being stranded on Titan for an infinite amount of time, just fighting Hive and Zebu Arath endlessly. I just don't really see it coming together. I think we might learn some interesting things, about the Witness and about the kind of grand conflict by the end of this season. Like, there's a reason we were sent here to talk to the worm and stuff, but as a moment-to-moment thing, like, just going and getting a new sentence from her every time is a little strange. I guess I'll roll the Veil quest into this, too, because it's technically story. The Veil quest is meant to expand our knowledge of the Veil, which... okay, so this quest appears to be, we did one quest, which was sort of roaming around doing pretty much reskins, Vex spawn activities to a certain extent, and then we get all the way back to the Veil containment area where we are now decrypting logs from the Maya Sundaresh era of things. I wasn't paying attention during the the raid, so I learned for the first time that Savathun stole the Veil as her first betrayal from the Witness and killed Nezarec in the process, making his pyramid go dormant. I guess Nezarec told us all this in the raid, but that was news to me. So far, what this appears to be is like you will go back to this little room every week and it will play a new message about the Veil. It's not like really a mission chain in the traditional sense. It is about the Veil. This very much seems like something that was kind of put together in response to the Veil being extremely not explained and unclear in Lightfall. That is sort of what I heard happened, but I can neither confirm nor deny that, I suppose, but it very much comes off that way. And I don't know, just going in to check in with a new voice log, it's like a radio message. I mean, those are fine, but like that's not content per se. Moving on to the actual content, I think Salvage is probably one of the worst activities that Destiny has made in a very long time. Six-man activities are either kind of the best of Destiny or the worst of Destiny. Everybody loves Menagerie. Most everybody loves Sundial, which was kind of Menagerie light. But we've run into a lot of circumstances where when you have these six-man activities, it becomes kind of hard to make them interesting or challenging because it's kind of too many people that are too powerful for too many enemies. Lately, they've been trying to compensate for that using just like an absurd amount of ads and like harder bosses and things. Not really what's happening here. So Salvage has these weirdly lengthy, tasks, and there's just not that many enemies to fight. my favorite example of this is there's the one where there's like a big hive portal and you have to stop Thrall from running into it. With 6 people, usually have like 2 or 3 people on one side fighting enemies as they literally emerge from the door and just instantly killing them, and then 2 or 3 on the other side, and then like I just sit in the middle and just pick off the 1 or 2 Thrall that get through, and I kill maybe like 5 enemies during the encounter, unless I want to go be one of the people just nuking everything at a doorway. And most of these activities are like this, and the ones that aren't, it's like pick up this very heavy thing and then jump melee it over to the spot. Those can be done. I like those more because they can be done quicker, and like, but they're still not good. And the wave clearing activities are the worst because you were just hard, kind of time limited on those. And someone said this on Twitter, but like, it feels like you're just in a line, you're in a queue waiting for the boss fight. And these boss fights are actually like pretty good. I think they're okay. I like the one with the Hive Runes. I think the one this week is still pretty good in terms of mechanics, and they're certainly more interesting than the Salvage missions itself. But it does feel like you're just doing 10 minutes of borderline nothing to get there, and it's too long and kind of uninteresting of an activity to make the boss fights worth it. Deep dives are better. I don't mind deep dives. It's just a very weird system. So they have introduced this mechanic where you can go, quote, deeper and deeper, and you will get better rewards as a result. I do not like this mechanic of there's like a secret activation of tier 3, where last week it was like find the little Toland orb and get all your team members to do it, and then it will activate a like higher difficulty of the current round you're in. I don't know what it is this week, but I'm assuming this week, since you can go to tier 2 to 3 last time, you can go to 3 to 4 this time. I don't know what it is, but the problem is like you have to get all of your teammates to agree to it. It's not even like a heroic public event where like if you do the thing enough, you can trigger the heroic public event. You have to get all 3 members of your fire team to do it. Most people don't have any idea how to do this stuff. I don't even know how to do the one this week. And then the ones that do know may just forget or don't want to do it. So you almost never see that activated unless you are running with like a dedicated fire team for this, which seems like a waste to do LFG for. I do think the enemy density and combat here is pretty good. There is, I'm running one right now for this video. There's like more enemies for 3 fewer players, which it's like that's like the right balance, whereas Salvage isn't. The boss zones are hit or miss. This week there's a wizard boss that has like a really annoying Cedia type mechanic where it can boop you off the edge, and these ogres that just have a hilarious amount of health. But I think the challenge here is okay. I just don't like the mechanics of going deeper is just like adding 5 minutes to a run, essentially, and then next week when there's another level, it's going to add another 5 minutes, so I feel like this is going to end up being like a 20-plus minute activity, which just feels a little long. The tier 3 gives you like a bonus chest at the end that just has like a world drop in it. I think you maybe get more engrams or something from the main chest, but it's a little weird and disjointed, and I don't like some things about it, but yes, it is definitely better than Salvage. We'll see how it progresses with, the 3rd drop next week, but it's still not one of my favorite seasonal activities so far. Elsewhere, so this is something that kind of populates everything right now. I appreciate the really beautiful underwater area design, and I like being in the arcology and stuff. These water segments are very bad. Like, I get that in a lot of content you have to kind of run from point A to point B, and there's like not combat. And so this is maybe taking the same amount of time as that, but like I do not particularly enjoy these little segments once or twice per activity where you go down and get these Sonic the Hedgehog air bubbles and move really slowly and navigate around to get to the next door. I just don't see what these segments are adding. It's I guess environmental storytelling and like really getting to these methane oceans or crushing, and but it doesn't make for good gameplay. Like, these are not enjoyable segments. And then you add that onto in both Deep Dive and Salvage, the fact that half of the encounters are picking up heavy objects and moving them somewhere, which you can't fight while you're doing that. And if you want to go anything approaching a regional speed, you have to jump melee over and over again like an idiot. I don't really love like Season of the Slowness here. I do not think these are good mechanics. Fishing, how it's hard to complain about something that's such like a bonus feature of a season, and yet since they did tie it into a bunch of triumphs and a grind and the title and like all of this stuff, and a full slate of reprised weapons, like that is the kind of main source of that, at least initially, to get one copy of each. Fishing has a lot of issues. It disappearing whenever there's a public event is annoying. Focused fishing, it almost seems like a placebo given how poorly it works and how little I feel like it changes the drop rates. Like, I just got an exotic fish, not even filled up to the first bar the other day, and then I was maxed fishing for like 15 minutes and I didn't get a legendary fish. Like, whatever it's doing with the drop rates is pretty screwy. And it is something like exotic fish have a 1% drop rate, I think. So it's like, on average, 1 out of every 100 fish will get you an exotic. Legendary fish are, I want to say like 5%. I don't think they're more than 5%. And it does feel good that once you've turned in all those fish, you get a little string of rewards. You can get Ascendant Shards from this. You can get exotics from this. But it is a ton of time investment in something that's very, very, very dull. There's not mechanics to it. It's press E once every like 20 seconds. It's not like a fishing mini game. It's just press E once every 20 seconds. And it's too time consuming to the point where like there's many other things you should be doing in the season that are active gameplay that are going to be more rewarding. And like, will I get it? Well, it's nice to have a little mini game that does have rewards. After a couple of days of fishing, I'm like, this is not worth the limited amount of time I have to play this game. So for me personally, it's hard to see myself investing too much time in fishing, even though I am missing a couple of the Reckoning weapons. But that's the other thing, is most of the seasonal weapons are not very good. Either the reprised Reckoning ones, like Spare Rations is back, but it's outclassed by every other hand cannon now because of power creep, and they did not really update its stats or anything for present day. I have not really gotten very many interesting rolls on any of the weapons so far. I think I just was able to craft my first, after a drop from this exact run, I got a aggressive frame SMG that I can now craft, but it's hard for me to get excited about really any weapons here, except for, I do like the Season Pass exotic, and I hear it's actually really good once you get the Catalyst, which I am still working on. In terms of gameplay, I feel like the best part of the season is the sandbox stuff. I have really enjoyed all of the exotic buffs. I have, at least on 2 of my characters, I have this really fun, that I'm using here, the Chromatic Fire Malfeasance build, where Malfeasance has been buffed so many times and got a Catalyst this season with Vorpal. It's like stupid, hilarious good against like most types of enemies now. And then on Void, if you get headshots, you're creating weakening explosions. On Arc, if you do that, you're creating blinding explosions, then you can freeze and whatever, but I think those are the best too. And then on Titan, I have this really fun Second Chance build where they buffed Second Chance to give you more shields back more often. It weakens on shield throw, and they buffed the shield throw itself. So that's been a lot of fun. So and then on Hunter, the dodge strands scarecrow dummy made of threadlings is extremely fun. I've actually, like, I use it in all content, but it's been actually pretty fun in Crucible too, because I keep getting like trailing kills from my threadlings that blow up after I die. It's like it's that Call of Duty perk where you die and you drop a grenade and then it blows someone up. It's kind of like that. So that's very fun. But these are all sandbox changes and not really the content of the season. Also, what does not technically count as part of the season is the dungeon. And I have not run the dungeon yet. I've said this, I am very, very short on time, and I do want to run it soon, but I watched all the day 1 races, I've listened to all the lore, I've seen all the weapons, all the armor. It's a very good dungeon, by all accounts. Environment design, incredible. The voice work from Zivu, out of this world. I posted a whole thing separately about that. The weapons are good. Also good weapons are the reprised Last Wish weapons. Those have really good perks now. And then the armor sets are incredible, probably the best dungeon sets we've seen in a very, very long time. Sticking with the theme of the dungeon, which is great. The content, the Oryx boss room, the fights, extremely good. It's the best thing about the season, and yet you cannot really technically count it as part of the season, despite all of the thematic ties and the story ties to the season, because it is sold separately in the dungeon pack. And if you buy the big $100 bundle at the beginning of the year, well, you get that. If you're just buying the seasons or whatever separately, you have to pay for the dungeon key, and like this is the new thing Bungie did to put another microtransaction in, and like I get it, like dungeons and prize raids and whatever cost money. Well, no, it's just the dungeons, but those cost money. They're trying to offset the costs or whatever, and they did just increase seasonal prices too. But like, it doesn't feel great to have it laid out that way. And every time we talk about a season now, you can't really include the dungeon. But to give the dungeon props where it's due, this does seem to be a pretty beloved dungeon that people do like and has a lot of good stuff in it. It's just that I don't think that is very much translated into the rest of the season so far. I do like things like they have eliminated the power grinds, at least the gear grind, which I have long grown tired of at this point, and I know they will be replacing it with a different power system soon, but it's something I certainly do not miss. I do, it's interesting to get a bunch of exotic engrams to focus now, even though I think focusing costs are a little high. It's at least better than it was previously. And I don't know, like, I just don't... People were like, it's only been a week, it's only been 2 weeks. And I'm like, yeah, that's like when I'm like really into a season usually. Like, that's when I really like the season. But right now, it doesn't seem like there's a lot I want to grind for specifically. I think the thing I want the most is like a copy of all the dungeon armor sets. Like, that is the one thing I definitely want, or maybe a repulsor brace, destabilizing rounds, what is it, Age-old Bond, Chattering Bone, one of those, stuff like that. But like, seasonal weapons, seasonal stuff, not really doing it for me, and these activities are not really things that I feel like I want to run over and over again. And I don't know, it's not really landing right for me in terms of that stuff, in terms of the story so far. And I don't think I'm burned out. Like, if you look at my Destiny playtime, like, it has been very consistent. Like, it is not dipped. It will dip when Diablo is here, obviously, but I do not... These are not, like, directly linked things. Like, I would be very sad if I was really loving this Destiny season and then I suddenly had to split time with Diablo, and, like, there's all this stuff in Destiny I want to do and all this stuff in Diablo. Like, but I don't feel that this season. And, things can always change as you go on. Maybe there's some big secret exotic quest that's going to be awesome, and, stuff like that, and things will change as the season goes on, but I'm just not really loving it initially here. And I don't really feel like I say that too often about seasons this early. So this is similar to my first impressions from, last week, where it was like day or 1 or 2, and I'm like, I don't know about some of this. But now, playing a lot more of it, I still kind of feel that way. So anyway, let me know in your comments. YouTuber people are usually more receptive and nicer in replies than Twitter people lately, which is interesting, or at least they're kind of more understanding in my position. So great work for that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.